Hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. This is amazing. Day 2. I'll let you guys hop on. I brought enough water today, though, so that's positive. So for those of you watching the replay, comment, right, so that I can coach you through it. And some of the comments have not been showing up in my notifications. So if you could tag me in them, that would be amazing, just because I want to make sure that you're getting coached, right? Like that you're benefiting from this. If you're showing up, I want to give this to you. So yeah, and I will keep these up and keep the group open through Friday, and then I will close it. So see if anyone's able to hop on today. Oh, I forgot a pen. That's okay. So when you hop on, please say hi. If you're watching the replay, tell me like something that's happened in the past 24 hours, a shift that you've had, or what it was like to dream and allow your mind to go to those places. And I want to hear about it. So we have people a few more minutes to hop on. Today's been such a busy day, but at the same time, like it hasn't, but I just feel like there's always, like I'm so excited and I just feel so on fire right now that there's all this stuff that I want to do. I'm not getting it all done, and that's okay. That doesn't like mean anything to me, but it's like all of a sudden it's 3 o'clock and I'm like, holy cow, how did this happen? I did get my workout in though, which I was happy about. Give people about 3 more minutes to hop on, and then I'll get started and everyone can watch the replay. So I'll let people watch the replay. But you guys, tomorrow is also a really amazing day. And I'm trying to decide out of the 3 days if is today or tomorrow. That's like my absolute favorite day. I love dealing with mind drama and doubt because like to me it's amazing how much power we give drama and doubt and fear. Like the thing is we all have them. And we all have those thoughts. We all have those things that come up, and that's okay. Like we're not stopping ourselves from ever having them. Like we're human. That's going to be impossible. What we're doing is we're not letting them dictate the actions that we take or the inaction. So, and that's, we're going to go really a lot into today about something called the model, which was, so the model coined term is by Brooke Castillo. If you don't know her, she's amazing. But this is also like a teaching that like many spiritual practices use, a lot of coaching, different coaching avenues. And like this is something that you're actually, well, in the personal development world, like has been around. She just like put the words to it, and I want to use it today, and I want to teach how to use it and everything else. So, so again, the importance of dealing with mind drama, the importance of today is the fact that so many times we're holding ourselves back from leaving a relationship, from going after a job, from leaving a job, from moving, from traveling the world, from starting the family, putting ourselves out there, whatever it is, okay, being super successful in business, is because of the doubt that we have. And the doubt that we have isn't the issue, it's the meaning that we're putting to the doubt, okay? So if, like, you know, let's say I want to, in business, like I want to put myself out there and I'm scaling to 100K and like all this stuff. And then in my mind, I'm going, okay, well, you're not good enough. You're not credible enough. No one's going to want to pay you, right? No one's going to believe that you, just making these things up, can bring them to these places, whatever else, right? So I can have those thoughts, but then when I'm like looking now in my life for the evidence to support those thoughts and make them true, that's when we get into trouble. So then all of a sudden I'm having those thoughts, well, I'm not good enough. I'm not credible enough. I haven't been doing it long enough. I start looking in my life, whether we're aware of it or not. A lot of this is subconscious. We start looking for pieces of evidence to support those beliefs and then be like, well, I just proved myself right. When Jen Sincero uses this analogy, and I think it's a great analogy, so I'm going to use it in You Are a Badass. If I were to go and ask you for like the next 24 hours, count as many yellow cars as you can see. And then after 24 hours, I'm like, okay, how many red cars did you see? You would say 0, but like that's not true. So then the next 24 hours, like I would ask you, go count as many red cars did you see? Okay, so how many silver cars did you see? All of a sudden you realize that it's not that it's not that they weren't there. It's not that they didn't exist. It's the fact that you just weren't attuned to them. You weren't paying attention to them. You weren't being aware of them. And it's the same thing that happens in our mind when we have the drama and the doubt of I'm not enough. And then we look for the rejection. We look for not getting the jobs, not getting into schools, not making certain teams, right? Not being invited to certain things with our friends. We start using these as evidence to support that I'm not enough. And so what your job is and what your goal is to see and be aware of your story of I'm not enough, and then find the evidence that is against it to prove yourself wrong. And like, guys, this works like every single time. Because you just are like, okay, like that's a thought, but I'm not letting myself go there. So what we're going to go over today, and I want you to write this down. And so you have to like stop it and pause this. This is actually kind of fun because when they're, you know, this is actually really fun that there's no one on so that we can like really dive into it. So the model. So I want you to write this down. Thoughts create feelings. You cannot have a thought without a feeling. Don't write that down, or you can if you want. You cannot have a thought without a feeling. No, sorry. You cannot have a feeling without a thought. And so if you're like, well, sometimes I just feel this way. It's like, well, yeah, because there's actually subconscious thoughts that you're thinking that you're not aware of. And so when we become the observer, it's a meditation. When we become the observer of our thoughts, then we bring them from our subconscious to our conscious. We become aware of it, and then we can change it. Like, this stuff is so cool. Like, it blows my mind. It's amazing. So, so thoughts, write thoughts down, leave a few spaces. Feelings, leave a few spaces. Amanda, hi. So I didn't think anyone could get on today, so I was just starting to like go. So I'm going to, I'll just start from like where I just was. So, hey there. So what I'm going over is like the fact that our mind drama and our doubt, like it's normal. We're not trying to make it go away. We're trying to make it so that it doesn't control our life, if that makes sense. And so there's something called the model that like Brooke Castillo has coined the term, but is actually, it's been used like for as long as personal development and personal growth has been around. But so what I want you to do is I want you to write down thoughts, leave a few lines, then write feelings, leave a few lines, then actions, leave a few lines, results, leave a few lines, and then circumstance. And so for everyone watching the replay, like you can pause it and go back and do that. So what I want you to do is in that result line, I want you to write down the most impactful part of your vision from yesterday, that if you made that one change in your life, it would make the biggest difference in your life. So Amanda, if you made one change from the vision that we created yesterday, what would that one goal, if you made that one goal and make the biggest impact in your life, what would that be? And so everyone else, I want you to write that down in the result line. The thing that would make, if you made this change, if you created this goal and this result, would have the biggest impact in your life. Okay, so getting your financial stability. Okay, great. So go ahead and write that down. Like, what does financial stability mean? What does it look like? So just, I want you to like, I'm driving home. No problem. Yeah, okay, perfect. So I want you to go ahead and just listen, and I'll keep going. So when we write this result down, okay, the important thing is like we write it down, and then our mind, our rational mind, our logical mind starts coming up with all of the things that, like, all of the reasons why this isn't going to happen or why it can't happen, or trying to pull evidence from our past to realize and show us that we cannot create this now. And I was going to talk about this earlier, but we can talk about it now. We think a lot of times, well, I've never done it in my past, so I can't do it in my future. We use our the past evidence to dictate and determine what we can do in our future, which is why a lot of us create the same results in our life, and why we're feeling very similarly in our life as we did like 6 months ago, a year ago, 5, 10 years ago, because we are allowing the past patterns to be creating our future. And so that's what we're doing, is we're actually putting a stop to that now. We're saying, okay, like, no, I'm actually going to become aware of my thoughts. I'm bringing it into my conscious mind. I'm creating and rewiring my brain. And so yesterday I said I was going to talk a little bit about it today. So the rewiring of our brain, like, it's science, it's evidence. And that is, I really like the woo-woo stuff. I'm totally into woo-woo, whatever that means, right? Like, I'm really into the new agey spiritual things. And I love when evidence and science supports it, because then it's like, wow, like we can really use both of these perspectives to change the world and to change our mind. And the other really cool thing is, you guys, by doing this work, we are actually like generating the new evolution of human beings. Like, by changing our brains and by like Yes, yeah, it's just amazing. By changing our brains and changing our thought and then teaching our children and like the people we're bringing into the world and the people we're mentoring, and then when they have kids, like we're actually impacting generations to come. That's how important this work is. Like we are doing that now just by working on ourselves, just by working on our minds. So how it works is when we are like 4 years old, okay, and let's say someone asks us like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? And someone's like, oh, I want to be an astronaut. Well, it's really hard to be an astronaut, right? But when you're little, like you don't know how hard anything is, and like you just think you can be anything, right? Like you have this confidence and this overwhelming sense of like, I can do anything, which is amazing. And so let's say someone asked you at 4, like, oh, I want to be an astronaut. And then they go, do you know how hard it is to be an astronaut? Do you know how smart you have to be an astronaut? Are you smart enough to be an astronaut? And for the first time in our life, we think like, we hear this, we're like, oh, it's hard to be an astronaut. And in that moment, that brand new thought that we have never thought before creates a connection, creates a synapse between 2 neurons in our brain. But at first it's like spiderweb thin, right? It doesn't really stick. And so we're like, oh, I guess it's hard to be an astronaut. Okay, and then we go on playing. And then let's say we're in school and someone else asks us like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And we're like, oh, I want to be an astronaut. And they're like, oh, that's really hard to be an astronaut. And then the second time it happens. And then all of a sudden that little connection, we remember it and it's like, oh yeah, it is. I heard that it's hard to be an astronaut. And then all of a sudden we don't get our colors right in kindergarten. And we're like, ooh, I'm not smart enough. If I can't even remember my colors, I can't be an astronaut. And all of a sudden that neural pathway, that synapse fires again and becomes even stronger. And then all of a sudden it's like we didn't get a good grade on our spelling bee or our spelling test. We got a math problem wrong. Reading's really hard, right? Maybe we're put in a slower class for reading or something. And all of a sudden we start building, whether it's conscious or it's usually subconscious, we start building all this evidence and belief that I'm not smart enough to be an astronaut. I can't be an astronaut. And then just imagine living that way for 25, 30, 35, 40, 50, 60 years of your life, 70 years of your life, with this subconscious mind going, collecting all the evidence throughout our life. Imagine how strong of a connection that is. All of a sudden, when we're 4, it's spiderweb thin. When we're 72, it's as thick as an iron rope. But the good news is if you don't continue to feed that connection at whatever age, our brain is plastic. It has plasticity. It's always molding and growing. That's what they've proven, right? That when we stop feeding the connection that I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, and we start feeding the opposite, and we start finding evidence of how I am good enough, how I can do this, how I can create financial stability in my life, how I'm okay being alone, how there's many people out there that can be my soulmate, right? That I can have a successful business. When we start thinking those things and we start fueling and feeding those ideas, then we start building that neural pathway in our brain. And it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And the other one begins to deteriorate. That's amazing. That is so amazing. That right there is the key. So what it's telling you is like, yes, it's going to take time and it's going to take repetition. It's going to take repetition to prove these old thought patterns wrong and create new ones in our mind. Like that, I just love that. And so if you slide back into doubt, if you slide back into fear, what this is doing is allowing you to have more compassion for yourself. You're allowed to go back to that place. It's just you don't want to stay there. And even if you stay there, like, okay, I stayed here longer than I wanted to. That's okay. I'm moving and shifting out of it. which tomorrow when we talk about strategy, we're going to talk about strategy, and a little bit today too, about how you can shift out of that. So what I hope I just did was, instead of shooting on yourself and shaming yourself and feeling bad about going to these places of doubt and fear, or going back to old patterns, that you were just given permission that it's okay and that it's understandable. And of course you're going to go back there and then choose something different. Because every time you make that choice, you are rewiring your brain. Every single time you make that choice. And like, teach your kids that, right? Teach everyone that. Like, teach your partners that. Teach your friends that. Teach everyone. So, okay, that's like one of my favorite topics. Like, I love it. That's actually why I decided to go back to school. I used to teach low-income single moms all about how the brain works and growth mindset versus fixed mindset. And when I learned all this stuff about our brain, it actually inspired me to go back to school. I was planning on going back to medical school. I started getting my prereqs, and then I was like, that's not for me. I actually, if I could do anything in my life, I want to become a life coach. Like, I want to change people's lives. And so that's what I did. Amanda, I love that. Yes, me too. It's like amazing. And if anyone is looking for a really great book, it's called Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck. And it's basically like all of these stories of people who failed for like years upon years upon years. But because their mindset, they didn't see it as failing. They didn't see it as anything holding them back or anything wrong with them. It actually fueled them forward. That it's all of these stories to like encourage you to keep going. And so, for example, one of my favorites is Mozart. Mozart, for 15, I forget, it's like 15 to 20 years. I can't remember which one. It's either 15 or 20. For 15 or 20 years, he failed. Like, he was told over and over and over again, like, you are not good at composing music. Like, you should stop. Like, we don't like your stuff. You need to stop. Like, you're not good enough. And for 15 years, just imagine for 15 years, people telling you that. And he kept going because he knew that he had it in him. And it was like, well, every time I mess up, it's just like, that wasn't it. Like, that wasn't the piece. And 15 years after that, he created the pieces and the compositions, pieces of music that we know today that has shaped our musical industry. It's amazing. So, okay, that was like a little off track. It wasn't off topic at all, actually. I love it. I think that's so important. So, going back to the questions, I want you to write down the result and the goal that you want. All right, so Amanda, for example, yours is financial stability. Okay, what exactly that means for you whenever you're not driving. And so when that comes up, I want you to go to the thought section. Okay, and I want you to write down, what are all of the thoughts that you have about that goal? So what are all of the things that are holding you back from achieving that goal of like, oh no, I'll never be able to do it. People will never want to hire me, or I'll never be able to make that amount of money, or I don't have a degree in order to do that, or trying to like set my computer up a little bit, or I'm not credible enough, or there's no good men or women out there. I've never been able to keep the weight off. Whatever it is, I want you to write down all of your thoughts in that thought section, all of the disempowering thoughts. So all of the disempowering thoughts, right in the thought section. We're going to use these. Amanda, if you're still driving, then totally fine. If you're not, then I want you to write it in the comments. So I think it's really helpful for people to like have an example. So now your job, after writing all of these thoughts down, I'll give you actually another 30 seconds. So those are all the like really strong neural connections that we have, right? The really strong neural pathways that we have. Makes sense. We've thought them a lot, right? There's no problem in thinking them. It's when we give them power, when we make it mean something about us. That's when the issue happens, right? When we are like, oh, I'm not enough, and then we actually believe that. That's the only issue that is. So now what I want you to do is we're beginning to shift the neural pathways, okay? And Amanda, sounds good. Now I want you to find evidence of the opposite, okay? So if it's like, I'm not enough, I want you to prove it wrong. Like, how are you enough? And this can be really hard for people, okay? And so again, have compassion for yourself, because if this is the first time that you're shifting, then like, of course it's gonna be difficult, and that's okay. So now find 5 pieces of evidence of proving those disempowering thoughts wrong, every single one that you wrote down. Stickler on this. I'm trying to think of an example. So my big thing, right, is worthiness. I've never felt until now, until the past year, because I've done a lot of work. But before, my old story was like, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of being loved. I'm not worthy of belonging. I'm not worthy of abundance. I'm not worthy of success. I'm not worthy of friendships. Like, it was like this whole, I had to earn it. Like, my worth was baked into my achievements. And so I'm a very high achiever. I have really let that go. But I used to be a very, very high achiever. And so I thought that like I had to earn love, or I had to earn respect. I had to earn belonging. And so what I had to do, right, is go and find all of the ways that I already am worthy, or that I already, am worthy of love and deserving of love. And this is like a little far out there. So I feel like one of the things was like, I don't feel worthy of abundance, or like I never have abundance, or money beliefs. It's another good one. Is like, money is bad, money is evil, I can never make that money, that kind of stuff. Or like, money will change me, or there isn't enough of it, like it always leaves, it never comes back, that kind of stuff. So then what I would want you to do is I'd want you to prove those things wrong. So like, how have you had enough? Like, how do you have enough now? And like, even if you have to really pull, really dig, I want 5 pieces of evidence for each of them. So please write those in the comments when you watch it. So the next question is, and I love this question, okay? What would you have to think or believe in order to know that the result or the goal that you want was coming? Okay, so again, what would you have to think, believe to know without a shadow of a doubt that the result was coming, right? So your financial stability was coming. What would you have to know for to know that your financial stability was coming? What would you have to know that romantic partner, or what would you have to believe to know that that romantic partner is coming? It's on its way. What would you have to know in order to believe that like you can get up on that stage and dance, that you can run a super successful business, that people are out there waiting for you. So what's so powerful about this question is you have to believe. You have to have faith. You have to trust that it's on its way without a shadow of a doubt. Because when you're in this place that you don't believe that it's coming, right? It's this scarcity, lack, fear mindset. And then you take action based on those thoughts and feelings. So if you're like, oh, I have to do more work, I have to get this done, I have to put myself out there, I have to attract more people, right? Like if I don't show up, they're not going to sign with me. If I don't show up, they're never going to know that I'm out there, right? Which like can be true, but it has to be from a different energy. So if you're thinking those thoughts, then the feelings that are created are like panic, anxiety, pressure, right? And so when you're feeling panicked, anxious, stressed, pressure, what kind of actions do you take? Right? Like you're going to come from a very needy place. You might lower your prices because you're afraid, right? You might reach out to people, but out of a place of desperation, not out of a place of like, wow, I just want to give to you. Like, I really think that this program is for you. It'd be like, oh, I got to hit my numbers, right? And that two energies, you can always feel the difference from these energies. If I came into this training and was like, oh, I need to get people to sign up, I need people to be here, I need people to be watching live, right? And I like that, those were my thoughts, then I'm going to show up in a lot different energy than just like, wow, I just like want to change your life. Like, I just want to give this to you. And like, this is amazing. And everybody needs to know this. Coming from that place, like that's abundant. I know the clients are coming. I know the business is coming. I know the money is coming. I know the impact is coming. And so like, let me do this for you is the energy that I come from. Not all the time, right? Like it's something I also have to work on. We all do. But I would show up differently, right? Maybe if I thought no one was watching, like I would just stop. I wouldn't even do it. Like, no, of course not, right? So what would you have to believe to know that that result was coming, and how would that shift how you show up? So Amanda, you said worthiness. Can you expand on that? If you're not driving, but if you're driving, just send a heart and then we can talk about it later. So what would you have to believe to know that the results are coming? And how would that shift how you show up? So just the other day, I was really like in this like, and this is the ebb and flow of life, right? Like a few weeks ago, I was really stuck in this like stagnant place. I was just like I kind of lost my why. I was more focused on business and like growing it and scaling it. And I forgot like why I do this. And it was last Friday, I was at a friend's house and he has this like, it's a campfire. Like we have a fire and we go around telling stories and he has this theme. And this has a point, I promise. And I shared a story about my life that got me back to my why. That me holding these free trainings, me coaching women all over the world, me having these small group programs or masterminds, right? Like that's changing people's lives and it's amazing. And that's not why I do what I do. Why I do what I do is to actually shift the consciousness on this planet, to heal people's connections with themselves, and through that, heal the connection with other people. I'm actually fighting against hate and fear. Like that is why I do what I do, because I have a legacy that I want to leave on this planet. And my first phase is to work with individuals and shift their relationship with themselves. And I forgot that. And when I realized that, like, when I forgot my why, I wasn't showing up as powerfully as what I know that I can be, and I was playing small, and I wasn't speaking my truth, and I wasn't writing powerfully, and I wasn't showing up powerfully, and I didn't feel on fire. And when I came back to my why, I began to show up like I was on fire, and I hope that you guys can sense that. Okay, so Amanda, feeling that I can't attain what I want or because of my past or something that I don't deserve. Okay, so I want you to tell me 5 reasons why you do deserve it. Whatever that it is. Which is so funny. I just wrote a post on it. So give me 5 examples and evidence of why you do deserve it. Oh, I think worthiness. Like why you are worthy. And then my other question is when you said because of my past. So whatever that situation is, that circumstance is in your past, and like I love helping people work through past stuff. I think it's so empowering. Your job is to come up with 15 reasons why you are worthy because of what has happened in your past. So for example, like I was abused when I was 15 and 16, and I held that with me for a long time, and I talk about it all the time, right? Like I'm healed from it, so I can talk about it. I don't ever encourage someone to talk about open wounds in a public setting. Like you do that privately to help you heal. But like that showed me my strength. That and the depths of like despair and depths of shame, and like I was just like in this pool of like I am wrong and I am a mistake and I did this. Like because I was in that place and because I can speak to it and from it, that like I have the strength and the courage and for me the responsibility, I view it that way, the responsibility to talk about it so that I can alleviate the silence of other women. And so like I've done this exercise and I've actually had to come up with 50 reasons why that has given me the tools and the worth and the experience to do what I do now. Hey, Steph. Yes. And so, Amanda, if you want to, either if you feel comfortable messaging that in the group or if you want to message me privately, that's fine too. So, Steph, what we're talking about right now is like kind of writing down our doubts. But I do encourage you to go back and watch a replay. Writing down our doubts and our fears and then proving them wrong. So, so for example, Amanda was talking about worthiness. Like she doesn't feel worthy and that she can't attain what she wants because of her past or something that I don't deserve it. And so I said, okay, so I want 5 examples of why you do deserve it. I want you to find evidence in your life of why you are worthy of it. And so Steph, whatever doubt or fear that has come up for you from yesterday and a goal that you've had, and like something, I really loved the question, like what do you want to say but you've been too afraid to say it? Like that thing, that's a really big thing. And so why have you been afraid? And if you write down those fears, then I can coach you through it. Cool. Okay, so when we write all of those things down and we shift, we're shifting our energy. We're shifting out of that doubt and that fear, right? And we have evidence to support this new belief. And that's what we're doing. We're going from this disempowering belief to this empowering belief. And that belief, I want you to write down so when you think okay, I am worthy, I do deserve this, I can do this. People are waiting, I'll give you some thoughts. People are waiting for me to show up. I can change people's lives. If I don't show up, people are going to be just like wandering around waiting for me to guide them. And every day I don't do that, I'm actually doing a disservice to the world and humanity because I'm not showing up. Like, that is something that I use daily. And so when I think of that versus like, oh, no one's engaging, no one's watching, no one's signed up, whatever else, like those thoughts make me feel like down, sad, frustrated, and it makes me not take any action. Versus if I'm like, people are waiting. Like every single post I do, every single free training that I do, every email that I write, it's gaining people's trust, and they need to hear this. They're waiting to hear this. This is the message that they need to hear today. It's not coming from me, it's coming through me. And I am denying the world this message if I don't send it, if I don't write it, if I don't post it. And as soon as I write that, it gets me excited and motivated and inspired. And it's like, I have this thing that I need to share and I can't stop. And like, I have to show up. And then I do. And then it's magnetic. It's contagious. People are like, I want this. I want this. Like, I want what you have, right? Or I'm so drawn. It resonated with me. Like, you spoke to my soul. And that's the whole goal. So when you find this evidence and you start changing this belief, my next question to you, right, is how do you feel? Amanda, for you, if you knew that everything happened for a reason, that whatever has happened in your past is actually has led you to this point that you are today, that this has all happened for the highest good and for your soul's journey, and that this is giving you the thing that you need to create that financial stability, to create that successful business, to help women like plan the most beautiful day of their lives, right? As a wedding planner, right? Or an event planner. That like you're bringing people together around love and they're waiting for you to show up because they need help. Like using those things, like in those thoughts, how would it make you feel? That only you can do this. You are a once in a lifetime opportunity. Love it. So my next question, so I have 2 more questions for you guys, is when like you create that feeling, okay, I want you to get really clear on that because tomorrow we're going into action, right? Amanda, you feel strong. Awesome. Like, yes. And we get to choose. That's the thing is like, especially everything that happened to us, right? And especially in our past, well, especially at any time, we get to choose what it means, right? Like, it doesn't have to mean anything bad about you. Like, it's giving you everything in our life, if we choose to look at it this way, is giving us a gift. And maybe sometimes gifts are wrapped in like beautiful wrapping paper with like glitter and bows and sparkles, and like they're these beautifully wrapped gifts that are handed to us. And me, I'm not a great wrapper, nor do I like want to waste the money or excess in wrapping. It's just like how I feel. So like a lot of times I don't wrap presents, or I'll like leave them in a brown bag, or like I'm like, here you go. Like, it's a beautiful, thoughtful gift, but like I didn't want to spend money in wrapping paper. Like, I didn't want to create waste. And it's beautiful and it's amazing, but it doesn't look good, right? And some of the most beautiful gifts in our lives look like garbage. They look like things that like that we don't want to open. And then as soon as we open them, they're like the most beautiful thing that we could ever imagine. And that's what life gives us. Sometimes they're beautifully wrapped. Sometimes they look like a piece of trash. And if we're brave enough and we're courageous enough to open them, there's an amazing lesson that's inside, an amazing gift that's inside. It's just how you choose to look at it, how you choose to view it. And that perspective is key. It's your key to unlocking it. So after you create this feeling, is there anything else that comes up for you? So like sometimes I'll be like, oh yeah, I feel so much better. Yes, but, and then my mind goes to another space. My mind goes to another reason why I can't do this, why I shouldn't do this, why it's not going to work this time, right? So I want to know, like, Amanda, I love that analogy. Good. I think it's so true. I love that analogy. I've been using it for years because I think it's so true. So yeah, so looking at this goal, like after working through all of those things, so after writing down your thoughts and proving them wrong, right? After writing down what it would take for you to truly believe that this result was coming and how would it shift how you showed up, and like writing that down. And then going into how do you feel now, right? So now it's like, okay, now I'm ready to take action. And then all of a sudden you're like, yes, but this. So whatever else comes up, I want you to write it down now. And then your job is to go back and do the same process. So this process is something that I do every day. And I would say like probably out of the past year, I've done it maybe like 335 days out of the year. Like I do this all the time and several of them. So, and this is how we change our mind. And so the more effort that you're willing to do and like put in, and my challenge and your homework, like for like when we end this 3 days, is to do this every day for the next week. Like commit and do that for yourself. And start with today. So before tomorrow, like I want everyone to do a model. So everyone write down their thoughts and then their feelings. And I'm going to take you through everything else tomorrow. But I want you to write down your thoughts. I want you to prove it wrong. And then I want you to write down how you feel once you've proved it wrong. I hope that makes sense. Amanda, I've been working on myself and my spirituality for so long, I'm out of buts. That's great. I've tried my best to take but out of my vocabulary and replace it with and. Not perfect at it, but I'm getting a lot better at it. And I experienced a yes but earlier today with my coach, and so it was really fun to like be able to work through it. So yeah, so now I want you to go through that again. So my last question for you today is, what is one thing that you have to let go of? I wrote it down. What is one thing that you have to let go of to raise yourself up to this next level, to believing that this is possible? What is something that you have to let go of? One thing that will help free you. And I want, like, what belief? Like, that's really, like, I guess where my mind goes, but I'm open. So what is one thing that you have to let go of to raise yourself up to the next level of believing that this is possible? Fearing that I'll fail because I'm tired of failing. Okay. Yes. And so again, how would you need to view failure? Actually, I don't know why I said again. I don't think I've talked about this here. I think I talked about it in another one of my programs this week though. So how would you need to view failure to like let that go? To like let go of that fear. How would you need to see failure? in my TED application, one of the questions was like, what's something we haven't asked you but should have? And it was like, what have I failed at? Or like, what have I failed doing? Because failed at isn't correct English. And I like wrote all of my failures and then showed how there's no such thing. As a positive learning experience and not let it fully exhaust me. Yeah, so how would you have to shift viewing it and viewing your effort and energy being put in it so that it actually didn't exhaust you, but it gave you energy? Like, how would you have to see it? So yes, it's a positive learning experience, and what else? The woman who started SiriusXM, Martine Rothbro, something, but her name is Martine Roth something. She was like, I actually like look forward to no's because every time someone says me no, she goes, it's just like one step closer to someone telling me yes. And she's like, I thrive when people tell me no. Like I thrive with it. I always know that I'm going to do something when someone tells me no. And I just like love that. That's a fantastic question. I feel like this is where I'm stuck. Okay, so that's your homework. How can you see this? So I want you to come up with 15 different ways of how you can view failure that actually gives you energy, that actually motivates you to want to try again, right? Because the thing is like, yeah, is there such thing as failure? Like, what does that even mean? And if we're looking at the spiritual journey of it, right, that like everything is divinely timed and everything is a gift for our growth and our soul's journey and our soul's growth. And so like there's actually like in like the spiritual world, there's literally no such thing as failure. It is only a gift. And so I'm guessing you're spiritual because that's like what you said. So like you're viewing failure from your human experience. But if you take your human experience out of it and you look at it from your highest self, how can you see that it's not actually failure, and how does that make you feel, and what does that make you want to do, and how does that make you see failure in a different light? So that's my question for you. So that's going to be your homework, Amanda, along with all the other stuff that I gave you. You're welcome. So that's what I want you to focus on for tomorrow. So tomorrow we're going to go into strategy and we're going to go into taking action. And like, of course we can still talk about this stuff because this stuff always comes up. Yay. Okay, good. This like mind drama always comes up, and like, it's amazing to talk about it. And it is like, because that's how we work through it. Like that's how we're shifting. That's how we're changing our energy. So tomorrow we're going to talk about strategy. And I have 4 steps, I believe, 4 steps to getting you there, to taking inspired action. I'm so excited. So amazing. All right. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for being on live. I'm so grateful. Everyone else watching the replay, I'm so grateful that you took time for yourself, that you set time out to do this amazing work. Like I said, we are changing the evolution of humanity. Like we're changing it. Because we're doing the work. Like, yes, you're making a change in your life and living a more fulfilled and passionate and creative and adventure, joy-filled, love-filled life for you. And you're being an example for everyone that is watching you. And like, this is how important that work is we never understand our impact. We never understand our ripple effect that we have in other people's lives. And when we realize that we're doing this for ourselves and for more than ourselves, that's when the real power and impact comes into play. And that is what you're doing. So I want you to go on with the rest of your day knowing that you are making a difference in this world just by taking this hour for yourself. You are doing that. And I'm so grateful. We all need it. Okay, Have an amazing rest of your day. I will see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. sharp, and I can't wait. Okay, talk soon.